Testing, 1, 2, 3, volume test. Yeah, it's gonna be echoey. But hey, when I get like over 500 subscribers, I'll buy a mic. Right now, I spend all my disposable income on books. On my Instagram, I did a reel annotating the Count of Monte Cristo, and it did really well. It had about 49,000 views, which made me think that people really care about annotating classics and want to hear more about it. So I thought I would make a video of my favorite book of all time, the Count of Monte Cristo, including how I annotated it, why I love it, and also 5 little known facts I found out about it that I thought were really interesting. I'm not kidding when I say I spend a huge portion of my disposable income on books. So I have 3 editions, and I don't think that's a lot considering this is my favorite. I have the Barnes & Noble leather-bound edition. This is the one that I annotated, so you can see there. We'll get to that in a minute. I also got this edition for Christmas. It is the Penguin cloth-bound edition. So I'm also collecting these, but what I like is that they're more sentimental. So my cousin got this for me for Christmas, and I asked her to write me a little note on the inside cover. Something a little bit extra special. I'm never gonna get rid of these books, so this makes it kind of nice. I'm a sentimental sap. I also collect the Easton Press books. So I have the Count of Monte Cristo in that one. And this one, it is off with your head if you write in this edition. It was so expensive. Don't ask me how much it was. $80. I paid $80. But to me, it's worth it because typically I find these used, so splurging a little bit on a new edition isn't that bad. It's genuine leather and then it has 24 karat gold inlay details. It has acid neutral paper, so it lasts a long time, and I just love it. Now, Monty, as I lovingly refer to it as, is not a short book. In this edition, there are 1,065 pages, and in this one, there's 1,243, I believe. So even the edition you choose is gonna be significantly different in page numbers. Also, the font is a different size, so that kind of lends into it. For the Easton Press edition, well, I didn't do the math, but it's split up into volumes and the page count restarts at each volume. So it's about a similar size, I'd say, to the Barnes & Noble. Pretty much everybody is familiar with the plot of this book. It is known to be the classic revenge story, and revenge plots are some of my favorites. So I guess it's no surprise that I read this and that I loved it. What's awesome about Monty though is how intricate the revenge really is. Homeboy was very dedicated to inflicting his revenge on the people that wronged him. Of course, in this book, we're following Edmund Dantes, who in my opinion is very morally gray. You go back and forth between thinking that he is truly the victim of circumstances, and also he has moments where he's inflicting his revenge where he is kind of a villain. Edmund himself struggles with this in the book, and that's why the character development is so fantastic. He struggles when he is dishing out his revenge if he is playing God, and if that's really something he should be doing. And when I say this is an intricate plot, I am not kidding. There were some scenes that really dragged out for me. I honestly skimmed a little bit in certain parts. And often I found myself wondering, why is this relevant? But then you get to the end of the chapter or the next chapter and you really see it come together. I had to leverage SparkNotes a couple times to understand fully what was going on. There's a lot of characters and I didn't always understand who they were. Edmund Dantes himself is a master of disguise and he has other characters that he plays, and that got a little bit confusing for me sometimes. So you really have to pay attention and leverage SparkNotes where you need to. I also really love reading alongside SparkNotes because it helps me capture different elements of the theme that I missed or symbolism, so I got a lot more out of this book, you having that by my side. Now let's get to the good part, the annotations. So firstly, why I annotate. I don't do it for every single book. I only do it on some of them. So this one being a classic, and I had certain expectations of things I wanted to get out of it. That's why I decided to notate this one. The first reason that I annotate is it really enhances the reading experience for me. It helps me, almost like a scavenger hunt, look for evidence of the theme or different symbols. As I mentioned, this is where SparkNotes really comes in handy, helps me know what I want to look for. But I think that makes it really interesting and engaging. Secondly, I am extremely sentimental, as I mentioned with that signed edition. But I like the fact that when I reread this, I will be able to look back on my initial reactions. I can compare my reactions on my reread to the first time I read it, and it is kind of a cool way to connect with myself, I guess. I don't know if I'm going to lend this out to anyone to read my personal notes or reactions, but at least for me, I think it'll be cool. Lastly, I mentioned that there can be a lot of characters and it's a little bit confusing. So while I'm reading, oftentimes I will refer back to something that I tagged. Perhaps a new character was introduced and they just came back. I wanted to see their physical description, for example. I can easily refer back to that tag for when they first appeared on the scene. How I annotate each book depends on the specific book that I'm reading, but in this case for Monte, I have on the first page a little note with the different topics that I tagged. So the pink tags mean that it was a meaningful moment. Something happened that I just liked. Something spoke to me. Usually a lot of these pink tags are Eugenie Danglers because I really enjoyed her character. So pink is just something, you know, her being a badass or something happening that I liked. Blue tab is a plot twist. And there's a good amount of plot twists in this. That's how you know that this is plot driven. Although, like I said, there's in-depth characters as well, so it's a good balance of both, but definitely a lot going on with the storyline. Green is when a new character is introduced. Usually I'll see most of these tabs in the beginning of the book, and then they kind of are a little bit more sporadic as you go through. But those I tag when they're introduced, when we have the physical description, when the relationship is explained to our character. That's when I tab green for Monte. Purple was a fun one. That is when there's evidence of the theme. So obviously we all know this is a revenge story, so I'm gonna tag anything that is revenge related. But there's also themes of forgiveness and feelings of power and powerlessness. Think about Edmund Dantes, Imprisoned. He had no control. He was absolutely powerless when he was taken to that prison. And that's where the drive came to gain power and not be taken advantage of again. So those are some other themes that are very popular in this, along with envy, right? I think that kind of goes hand in hand with the vengeance, but a lot of the characters went after Edmund Dantes because they envied something he had, whether it be his lady or his career. Lots of envy in this book. Orange is the final tab that I used, and I used that for quotes that I like. Different things that meant something to me, not like pink where it could be like a whole passage, but like a specific quote that meant something to me. I think this one is really popular for the last line in the book. But then a little bit above that, there's a passage that I really liked. There is neither happiness nor misery in the world. There is only the comparison of one state with another, nothing more. He who has felt the deepest grief is best able to experience supreme happiness. Oh, I love that. Then it goes on to say, all human wisdom is contained in these two words, wait and hope. I love it. It's so much more significant when you read it, when you know why he's saying it. That's why it's so long, because all the details really come together and make a difference. I absolutely loved this book, if I haven't said that already. So in addition to annotating it, when I was done, I wanted more. So I went to just look up different things about the author, Alexander Dumas, and the book and the background and everything, and I found 5 particularly interesting facts that I had never heard of, and I wanted to share them with you. Fact number 1, the Count of Monte Cristo is based on a true story. This is about a shoemaker who was pranked by his friends and as a result, falsely imprisoned for 7 years. I really want to know what that practical joke was because I would not be laughing. When the shoemaker got out of prison, he went on his own quest for vengeance, and he killed 3 out of the 4 people who imprisoned him. It was in facing that 4th one that he was murdered, so kind of a different story than our Edmund Dantes. But you can see the correlation between the two, and I think that is incredible. Fact number 2, the Count of Monte Cristo was actually published in a French newspaper, I believe, over the course of 18 editions and 2 years. It was kind of done like chapter at a time. Talk about cliffhangers. I would not want to be reading the same book for 2 years, but I guess it's kind of similar to like our TV series today. Monty fact number 3. In the earliest editions of the book, there was a typo in the title, which actually called it the Count of Monte Cristo because there was an H in Cristo. It took several years to get this corrected. Monty fact number 4. Due to the implied homosexuality of a scene where Eugenie Danglars wakes up in the same bed as her female music instructor, pages from the book were eliminated for over 150 years. Monty fact number 5. There have been over 40 screen adaptations of this book. I myself have seen 2 of them. I saw the 2002 version and it was okay. I mean, there's no way you can capture this entire plot, but the whole essence of the movie was a love story, and I wouldn't say the same for the book. That's, I guess, one of his motivations, but it was just a very different vibe in the 2002 film. Now, the 1975 film with Richard Chamberlain was much more accurate to the whole vibe of the plot of the novel. So I tend to like that one a lot more. A lot more vengeance and kind of that anger and that internal battle Dantes has with himself was there. And they changed some things in the plot, which kind of made me roll my eyes, but I liked that it stayed a little bit more true to the theme of the book. All right, so those are my thoughts on my favorite book, The Count of Monte Cristo, and how I annotated it. If you liked this video, please comment down below because I've annotated some other books and I'm curious to know if there's interest in seeing that. One that comes to mind is War and Peace, which I read last summer. That was really good. There were a lot of tabs, so that's one that I can make a video on. But please let me know if you care, because otherwise it's not as much fun. Also let me know if you've read The Count of Monte Cristo or if you want to, because I cannot shut up about this book, and my friends and family are kind of sick of hearing about it, so I need to make some more friends that have an interest in this book. Thank you so much for watching. Bye!